And with that familiar intro, welcome to another episode of Candid Conversations about Network Marketing. Hi, I'm BK, and as usual, my co-host, Dr. Wayne.
Hi everyone. Hi BK.
And we are coming to you live. This is season number 4, and season number 4, we have done something different again. We have been gradually improving ourselves, trying to show that the statement progression is perfection is actually some of the things that we really should try to lift out, right? So season number 4, we're coming to you live on a few platforms, and if you're watching us live, do comment below and tell us know that you're live. Or if not, you're watching the replay, just let us know you're watching as replay as well.
Yes, and if there's any questions or anything like that, please put them in there and we can answer those questions next time. That'll be fantastic.
Yes, and like Dr. Wayne just said, we are happy to dive deeper into the questions that you might have for us in
Yes.
future episodes. Today, we are actually going to continue with what we talked about the last time, and this is kind of like a part 2 of an enlightened network marketer, right? So if you have not caught up with us, please do check us out at networkmarketerpodcast.com. And that is where you can find the previous archive episodes. And then you can also access the show notes, which Dr. Wayne has kindly provided for us, right? So, Dr. Wayne, I'm going to give us a quick recap before we go on.
Yes, we will. So last time, as BK touched there before, that our last episode was Marketing 3.0, but sometimes we call it 4.0 for the Enlightened Network Marketer. And what we went on to discuss there was a number of key concepts, and we dug deeply into the differences between two different types of marketing: the institutional style marketing and what we call emotional direct response marketing, and how you can spend thousands of dollars and waste a lot of money by doing institutional style marketing, and how emotional direct response marketing is the best for small businesses, and especially if you're a network marketer. And we went through into deep dive into that, and we even then related it back to how we can incorporate it in our meditation, so we can then allow the law of abundance, the law of attraction, to attract that to us. And then we even looked at a little bit in terms of how the law of resistance would work with that as well. Remembering the reason for this particular podcast is because over time, BK and I have had a number of burning questions that we believe is on everyone network marketer's lips. Why others are doing so well. So the first question would be that we've been asked many, many times is, why are others doing so well and you feel stuck? Number 2, why are others building their network marketing businesses easily without bugging their family, friends, and loved ones? And the third question that is often asked is, why are other people's teams actively recruiting like roaring lions, and my team seems to be asleep like a sloth? And these are the burning questions that BK and I get a lot, and this is where this particular podcast is about giving those answers. So what we want to move into now is, we've looked at the avatar, the ideal client. We even looked at USP, unique selling proposition. And as mentioned, we even went into the visualization of that as well and how to put that together. What I really want to go into now is the next phase of this emotional direct response marketing phase of it. So, the most important thing within a small business, network marketing business, is 3 really important concepts. One is lead generation. The next one then is retention. And then the next one is then looking at inactive clients, inactive customers. So first of all, we're going to look at the lead generation system. And, the major theme here that BK and I, why we're doing this, as those questions and answers that we talked about before, is how you can do this without bugging friends and families, etc. Hey, BK.
Yeah, definitely. Sometimes for one reason or another, that is an option that is not available to us. That it could be 2 reasons, right? I mean, just to quickly highlight it to the listeners, sometimes it's because you might have admittedly, you might have joined one or two, or maybe even three other network marketing companies before. And while you were in that company before you join your current one, you might have gone to your friends and family. And so coming to them again on the fourth try, they might be saying, "Oh, you there you go again." So that might be one reason why you may not want to approach your so-called warm contacts, which are your family and friends. Of course, another possible reason could be maybe you are starting out in society and you don't have that many friends, or you choose not to build on family and friends because sometimes there is a kind of a saying that we kind of only talk to family and friends. So that might be something you want to aspire to. So either of these reasons, you have to think about lead generation, right? But I also want to highlight one last thing. Lead generation is applicable to any business. It's not
Correct.
just network marketing. Okay, if you start any business in the world, it is one of the most critical bits of the business. It's the most probably one of the most important part of the your business machinery, right? So don't misunderstand us. It doesn't mean it's only for network marketing. It is for any business.
Yes, and once you get this and understand this, business then becomes quite easy. Your network marketing business becomes quite easy. So, when I first really discovered this going back 25, 30 years ago, it changed the way I did business in terms of the wellness industry back then. And the more that I learned and the more that I understood, the more that my business flourished, especially in lead generation, and then qualifying your leads is really important as well. And these days, I don't really have to think about lead generation because it's totally on autopilot for my business. And it's within autopilot as well for the network marketing business as well. And with any business, the same as, if I go back and I just talk about the wellness industry as a naturopath and acupuncturist and herbalist, for example, there was definitely tweaks that we made along the journey to allow one to get to whereby I was then booked out for 3 months, and we had a waiting list of over 100 people for that particular time. And that is a really solid lead generation system. And within the network marketing industry, what I'm doing now, and BK and I are doing now, are working through getting better qualified leads. And the more that we can do that, the more this whole system becomes easier and easier. And one of the most important things about qualifying, and we already talked about that if you did miss it last time, is know your USP, know your avatar, know your ideal client. And once you get your ideal client, you should know that person's everything about that person, their age, what they like, what their hobbies are, whether they're married, whether they're not, what type of career are they typically in. So these are the things we need to know about our ideal client and have that mapped out. So when you do your lead generation system, so what most people do where they really get it wrong is what they do is they go after everyone. They try and create, in the marketing terms, a whole lot of people that is a mile wide, for example, and they don't mind what type of people come onto this road. So the problem with that, you're going to get a lot of people coming into your system as lead generation, but they're not qualified. What we want to do is bring that down so we only have an inch, or in terms of how wide the market is, for example, but it actually goes a mile deep. And we can use 25 millimeters, for example, and we can then use a kilometer deep. So the terminology in terms of, I'm sure you get the idea what I'm trying to say, is what we don't want is unqualified people because we haven't been specific. What we want to do is bring that down and make it only an inch wide, but it is a mile, a kilometer deep, whereby we can keep on attracting those same type of people into our businesses. And from there, we need a system to be able to do that. So people then talk about funnels. People then talk about, what type of system do you have? There's the AIDA system. There's the PASS system. There's these different words that we can then put together to allow us to work out how we then put our copy together to create a, a funnel, so to speak, which is really important as well. And the system that I like to use is PASQ, PASQ, and PASC, and that basically stands for when you're doing your marketing, your copywriting. The first thing we want to do is identify the problem. Okay, so identify the problem, and what we've done within our system. So if you just go back and listen to what I said before, we've identified 3 problems. Why are other people's in network marketing doing so well and I feel stuck? And what we're talking about specifically there is the niche, or the inch wide, mile deep, is around mindset. Because we believe that network marketing businesses, no matter what company you are in, there's plenty of tools. It's not the tools that's the problem that allows people to get stuck. It's the actual mindset that allows people to get stuck. And the second one that we then niche down is why are others building their network marketing business easily without bugging their family, friends, and loved ones? And that's where we're getting into it now with regards to how to create your lead generation system. And then the third topic around that was, and why are other people's teams actively recruiting and my team seems to be asleep? So there's a really good example of the first bit that I talked about with regards to problem. What is the problem? The next bit in the PAS system is then aggravate. You aggravate the problem a little bit more, in terms of why are others doing so well and I feel stuck. Then you aggravate a little bit more. How come you feel that way? What are the feelings and the emotions? And you draw that out in your copy. And then the next one then is problem, aggravate, solve, and then you solve it. So in our particular instance, BK and I, we then talk about the solving of the problem with regards to mindset, understanding the universal laws, for example, the 7 universal laws, and how we can apply them to our life, and how if we use them, we can then use the law of attraction to allow things to come to us so easily, and then understanding the law of resistance and dropping that resistance so the law of attraction actually works better for us. So that's what we mean by then solve, and then call to action. What is the thing that you want that person to do, your new person to do? So the more that we can qualify our leads in terms of the wording, and that's what the emotional direct response marketing, EDRM, is all about. Emotional means how can you write your copy to become emotional so that then the call to action becomes so much easier. So there was a lot I just went through there, BK. Any questions you may have there, mate?
No, just wondering what was PASC, but you went through it.
PASC, yeah, problem, aggravate, solve, call to action,
So
which is
the bottom line is what Dr. Wayne was sharing just now, I guess, for me, is that if you are, when you are generating your leads, the most important thing is that a lot of beginning marketers, they kind of try to reach everybody, which is actually going to be very tough, right? Because you will often find that you typically would resonate with one particular kind of person or one particular group of people, right? And sometimes people, especially if they're new in the business, they kind of say that, hey, I'm very new in the business. I don't have any credibility. I have not built a team. I'm not successful yet, but I want to do this business, right? Now, remember that all of us start out with zero, right? Everybody starts at zero, and then we build our team over time. So, but even when you are zero, you will still have something in you, because based on past experience or other things that you may have done in your life, or maybe even just your own, the things you would be able to reach out to one group of people that needs to hear what you have to say. So you need to make sure that you narrow down your target audience into a very specific, smaller, more narrower, more finely defined avatar, right? And then you would understand this group of people very well, right? It's like what Dr. Wayne was saying. If you want to understand that group of people, if it's too wide a definition or a group of a cluster of people, then everybody's problems or everybody's situation will be different, right? For example, if let's say, just to give an example, if happen to be talking to someone who is say 45 to 50, white collar office worker, he's at the age where he's worried about being retrenched because maybe he's gotten a bit expensive, but yet his kids are grown up. They're all going through maybe high school or even university, a lot of expenses at hand, and yet he's very worried about being laid off at his current stage in time, right? So then you would be able to very, very clearly, address the concerns, the pain points of this person. But if you happen to want to reach out to an age group of 25 to 55, right? A young person is going to have different kind of problems. The 60-year-old or 65-year-old who is retired would have different kind of problems. That's what we are trying to say.
Exactly, yes. And the more that you can define that, the better things occur in your lead generation system. And, if I look back and reflect back, even when I went first into the wellness industry, yes, I did talk to family and friends. And even when I went into the network marketing industry, I still made that initial mistake of talking to people. But only because you want to help, and I can understand why we do that. But what I found is that it's like anything. When you're trying to influence people that you already know, they already have an understanding of who you are from their reflection. And doesn't matter who it is, they will have their understanding of who you are. And because of that, even though I'm in the wellness industry and all the rest of it, because family and friends may know me from, say, when I was 5 years or 10 years of age, they have a different type of opinion with me than someone who just meets me. So there's all these different things that we have to take notice of. And what I have found is that if I do try to influence someone that I know as a friend or as XYZ, in terms of family or something like that, it's so much harder to get that message across. And unfortunately, what can happen then, you can burn bridges with some people as well. And I remember a time when I was about 25, someone approached me from a network marketing company, and I still am not good friends with that person, even though we were really good friends way back then, because he approached me and I wasn't ready. Now, these days, I'm okay with that. But there was a number of years there where I wasn't okay with it because of my own biases. So these are things that can happen, unfortunately. But if we have a lead generation whereby you are the expert in your field, and then what you do then is then you bring down the characteristics of that person. In the wellness industry, for example, I have the avatar statement. And remember last week we talked about I should be able to ring you up no matter who you are at 2 o'clock in the morning, and you should be able to recite your avatar statement or your ideal client back to me. Now, from there, as BK and we've already kind of suggested, then you have then different dot points about your ideal client. And when I was in the when I was doing a lot of marketing for the wellness industry, and because I'm semi-retired now, I don't need to do that amount of marketing. I had 63 dot points about my ideal client. That's how narrowed I made that person. And do you think that I got qualified people that came in? My word, I did. Do you also think that I may have got other people that weren't so qualified? Of course I did. But if we look at Pareto's law, if you do the way that most small businesses and most network marketers look at marketing with regards to they just try and get everyone in their front door, the mile wide scenario, then what happens then is you just lose them. They don't. Looking at Pareto's law, 80% of those people will not be your ideal client. The 20% that's remainder, say we've got 10 people, 8 people will not be your ideal client because it's too wide. 2 will be, but if we use 80-20 within that, you'll actually find that there's probably only 1 person that out of those 10 people who will become your ideal client. But if we use these systems that we're talking about, it reverses that. Now it's Pareto's law and the opposite. When you narrow down your ideal client, it now looks totally different, where 8 of those people will be your ideal client, 2 won't, and you have a total different data that you can move forward with that actually allows you to grow your business exponentially.
Yeah, I think the analogy that some people give is going after one rabbit is easier than going after two. Right? If 2 rabbits are running in separate directions and you try to chase both, you're definitely not going to get even one, right? So it's better to just focus your attention and go for one, right? And then you'll be able to make sure that you can get that single rabbit when you go hunting at least. So it's the same here. It is the same here. In fact,
Yeah,
like what I said earlier, and I want to bring it back one more time, which is, in fact, the things that we are doing here in network marketing, uh, in essence, network marketing is actually no different from any other business
correct.
because it is a business. So all these things that we talk about, and in fact, if you want to, you could always go and pick up any book about marketing or any other additional training or courses about marketing. In fact, I'm sure your company, in some sense, would provide you with some level of marketing training as well, right? So those things that you learn would actually be very applicable in network marketing as well. And
Yeah,
but the difference here is that, and as what Dr. Wei was mentioning earlier on, is that why are people, having um, such great access to so much materials, and yet you have issues with, getting result from these trainings? And this is why we are here. We try to kind of talk about some of the difficulties that may not be mentioned, some of the challenges that may not be mentioned, which is why exactly we call this candid conversations. Because honestly, sometimes when you talk to people, they kind of paint a very um, glossed over image of the industry. It's kind of like, oh, it's very easy, all kinds of things. It doesn't necessarily mean that. It is a very simple business, but it certainly still deserves the hard work and tenacity and effort that any other business requires.
yes, very, very true. And sorry that I've just got someone here. Someone just sent through an interesting message. They must be watching. They asked, and it came through on my Facebook stuff. They they wanted to know what AIDA was. Remember, I said there's 2 different types of uh, abbreviations to your funnel. So
ASC
I
and AIDA.
yeah. So AIDA is awareness, interest, desire, action. So it's another acronym that people use in terms of driving traffic. So AIDA is awareness, interest, desire, and then action. So similar to PASQ, problem, aggravate, solve, call to action, but it's just using different words. So I just thought I'd answer that question there for someone. So from there, the the interesting thing, if I look back, just sometimes it's nice to look back in terms of what I've done in the past. I remember I built a 7-figure business back before the internet was really around. There was a little bit of email stuff back then, but we built it just on direct mail, finding people's who were qualified. We qualified them, of course, and we basically then sent them letters. And we then had a call to action, problem, aggravate, call to action. And within, I think it was 3 years, we built a 7-figure business from that. Now, today, it's so much easier. The reason I bring that up is because today we've got so many different media that we can now actually go out to. Yes, we've got direct mail. Yes, we've got email, but we've got Facebook, we've got LinkedIn, we've got TikTok, we've got all these different other avenues that we can actually now put our message out to. YouTube, for example, what we're doing here in terms of podcasts, YouTube videos. There's so many different things that's available today to get that message out, which is really important as well.
In fact, we are living in an age where, in the past, if in maybe in the 80s and 90s, if you have ever done network marketing before, some of your team members may come up to you and say, I don't have anybody else to contact. I don't know how to reach out to another person, right? Um, Today, that is no longer an excuse you can have because you literally have access to at least a billion people online. So we are living in an age of network marketing where you can no longer say that you cannot find somebody to talk to. That's for sure, right? So, but instead of just talking to every single person, you may want to be more niche down, narrow down your target audience so that you can speak the language that they would like to hear, right? Or they would be
Yes.
able to understand. All right. So definitely don't think that, please be aware that you're definitely living in an age where there's no lack of channels for you, right? You literally can go to any of these platforms that Dr. Wayne mentioned, but the same principles apply, right? Whether you're on Facebook, you're on YouTube, you're a podcaster, you're on TikTok, you're on Instagram, you need to define very clearly who are the people you're trying to reach and use the same acronym that Dr. Wayne was talking about, which is like PASC or AIDA, which is you have to identify something that they are concerned about. Sometimes we typically call it a pain point, right? Because human beings are driven by a very keen desire to overcome pain. So you need to understand their pain points. And then you may want to kind of highlight a little bit more as in why that is the case, right? And of course, you provide a solution because you don't want to tell someone their pain point and not give them a solution. They're gonna hate you
Correct.
for it. so, so that is quite basic and simple marketing in that sense.
Yes, yes. So, just going over what we've gone through so far. Number one, which was in last week's podcast, was know your avatar, know your USP. Number two, we went through lead generation. Now you want to go through retention. And in the network marketers language, this is what we will call auto ship. And one of the reasons I've always been in our company, one of the auto ship all stars, is because of what I'm going to go through with you now. And yes, it does require a bit of work, and it does require a bit of a bit of work and some skills in terms of writing and that. But you just do the best you can. So, for example, what a lot of people do, unfortunately, is they allow their corporate to send out emails, which is fine. Um, but what happens then is the corporate sends out emails that is, once again, a mile long. It's just general base stuff. What we want to do then within compliance is then send stuff out that is specific using your voice, which is really important. That person came on board because of your voice, because of the heartfelt truth that that person could feel in you that allowed that person to come across. You need now to talk to that person at least weekly. So create, and there's so many different vehicles out there now that you can use in email sequences and different things like that. Once a week, you need to talk to your client that is all automated in an email. You can even put videos within those emails with links these days. So there's so much more that you can now do. And for example, I've got about 6 months of emails that have been pre-written that I know that I send an email out as a welcome letter to start with. That one there is manual. And then after that, I put them into my email sequences, and that person then gets 6 months of emails. And this is one of the reasons why I'm an auto ship all-star, because of that very reason. And I'll put it another way. When I first come across this concept, I really kind of didn't get it until one day it happened to me, in terms of I needed an electrician, and I needed an electrician urgently. And around about 18 months ago, I came across an electrician who did a lot of work for me at that particular time, and I was over the moon with his service. He cleaned up after himself. He relayed his exactly what he was going to do. He told me exactly how much it was going to cost, and he actually stuck to it. And all these things which a lot of people in the trades don't do, like clean up after themselves. You can still find little bits of wire everywhere, usually when an electrician leaves. But he was just incredible. I need an electrician now, and that was 18 months ago. You know, I never heard from that guy, and I couldn't find his card. And now I'm looking in trying to find another electrician, and even though I went through and I thought I found him, and no, I didn't. And then I finally said, yes, I think this is the guy, and the guy came around, it wasn't him. Now, why did that happen? If that guy kept in contact with me, and I may have never, ever read his email, this is really important to understand. A lot of people say, well, people don't read emails anymore. People don't get in contact with, they don't like reading stuff. They're too busy. I said, yes, but as long as they don't unsubscribe me, I'm still there every week, whereby they'll be looking at who I am. So do you think that after 18 months, if this particular person sent me emails about what he does in his business and maybe the other things he does, do you think I would have then known who he was and known who to contact and and be able to get him back immediately? And once that happened to me, I then went, now I understand this at a deeper level. So, and then I started instigating this within the wellness industry, and it allowed retention to be incredible. And this is any small business operator can do this. Like, I don't know, how many would it be? Probably in the last 2 years, I could count maybe 6 or 7 tradespeople, different types of tradespeople that have come to my home and different things that I want them to do. And I would say that every one of those 7 have never sent me an email about what they do, or their any type of email sequence after that. So really important, if you're a small business person listening to this, if you're network marketing, please start looking at doing that. And then what you can do then within your email list, what you can do then is those people who you've identified, maybe they were just product users, now you can take them to a business builder. So now you can actually dissect your email list and become more specific. And then what you can do then is even those business builders, some business builders find it difficult to go to the next level of leader, to the next level of duplicator. So you can even do your email list a little bit more specific for those who want to go to that level. But the first thing to do is put down and start putting together an email sequence where you're getting in contact with your people once a week at least, and try and get at least 6 months that is automated. First thing to do, really important to do.
It is out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah, yes, especially when it's automated, it makes it so much easier.
And there's so many tools out there today these days. If you maybe if you feel that email is a bit old school, there are other channels, right? Right now you can have chatbots. They can subscribe to a messaging service. There is even a SMS service, even though some people don't they don't use SMS as much, but it gets to their phone, so it's a little bit more direct than say an email, because people may not open their emails and it may go to spam or whatever, right? So there are many services. The point is, choose one that you know your audience would use. Some people use a WhatsApp or a broadcasting service from WhatsApp,
Yes.
for example. Some people use messengers on messaging bots on Messenger and so on. So these are all the options that are available to you, right? So just do one, right? Just do one, because then you can keep in touch with people and they know. And also the other thing is, why Dr. Wayne is saying this as well is another very interesting phenomenon. For some of you, if you're new to the business, you may not appreciate this as much, but some of us who have been around for a while, we build a team. You'll be surprised at how many times or how many percent of your current existing customers or team members are actually unaware of, say, certain benefits of the compensation plan, or
Yeah.
certain products that you may have that may benefit them as well. And sometimes, very interestingly as well, some of your customers may not even be aware that there is an income opportunity attached to the business. So from time to time, as you email them, you may want to rotate the content a little bit. Maybe if it's a customer list, then you talk about, how to use the products, the things that you want to watch out for, how are you, and so on, right? But maybe every month or every quarter or so, you may want to put it in and say that if you're liking what you are using, if you're enjoying, you're seeing benefits with what you're using, do you happen to know of anybody else that may benefit from, So you may want to let them know that they can actually have a referral based business as well, right? It is quite interesting that sometimes we do get questions. I didn't know that I can make money with this.
Yeah, yeah,
So don't
absolutely.
assume that people know everything. So the email list, number one, you're keeping in touch with them. Number two, you literally might be informing them of things that they may not be aware of.
Yes, yes. And number four in the emotional direct response marketing sequences that I like to talk about is now we're going to get people who are going to drop off. And you should know that this is happening. There should be an automated system within your corporate company structure that should let you know that people are dropping off or credit cards are failing or whatever it may be. And then you should have an automated system for that as well. So if you're getting someone where the credit card's not going through, you should then have a automatic email that you may send out manually, but it's automatic in that it's already written. So you have that already written for that particular person, or it might be that your company may have some companies have a renewal fee every year. So then when you get that reminder that your customer is getting a renewal notice, then you'd actually just send them a nice little renewal notice from yourself. Even though it's coming from the company, I think it's really nice that it comes personally from yourself. So all these things need to have a specific email that you've written, and then yes, some of these things may need to be manual because they occur randomly. But when you do that, you then don't have to think about it. You just have to go into your documents, get the actual the email that is attributed to that, and then you email to that person. But the next one then is the inactive sequence, and I generally suggest you have at least 3 emails. But I try to suggest to people to have 7. So this is when you know now that someone has, for some reason, fallen off your list. That they have been. You now know that this person's not using your product anymore, for example, and you now put them into an inactive sequence of emails that talks about the benefits of joining, the benefits of the product specifically for that person. And it's been estimated that if you can talk to these inactive people, you can get something like 3 to 7% of these people back. Now, that may not be much, but 3 to 7% is still a fair amount. Okay, so because you can then activate these people, and the active sequence, by retention, you'll be amazed at how many people will be retained because you've put in that 6 months of emails and allow your auto ship for those people to stay on board. It's just amazing when you start doing it.
Well, the cost of acquisition, I mean, when you are in business, there's always
Yeah.
almost commonly said that the cost of acquiring a new customer is a lot higher than the cost of retaining one, right? So
Yes.
since
Yeah.
you've already put out the initial cost of acquiring that single customer, then make sure you do everything you can to keep them as a customer for as long as you can, right? And then at the same time, if they do drop off, right, same thing, right? Even if it's just 3 to 7%, then you are actually regaining back 3 to 7% so that you don't lose 100%. And you have to go out and then put in more cost to acquire new customers that have been lost. So
Yes.
I really like this episode, Dr. Wayne, because I think we kind of went into some of the meat and bones of the business and highlight to it's something that is very close to my heart because very often I get um, comments or questions from people, and when they ask that kind of question, I kind of know that they kind of think that network marketing is a different creature altogether. It's not a business. It's not like it's a different set of rules or things that you need to do. But actually, it is no different from any other business. And once you think of it that way, then you realize that hey, everything that you have learned in marketing or in business, in a business sense, it applies. In fact, everything that you think about right now, we're talking about right now, even if let's say we totally remove the topic of network marketing, you would think that this is a regular business net
Yeah.
marketing podcast, right? So
Yes. Yes.
that's what it is. And so I would encourage you to, if you don't think of it that way, start thinking of network marketing as a business, and be very proud that you have found a very simple business, right? It's like you're not, like Dr. Wayne when he was doing his wellness training circuit, right? To be a practitioner like him, you have to go through years and years of study,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
A lot of accreditation, a lot of studying before you can actually tell people that, hey, I'm actually a wellness practitioner. But network marketing is not like that, right? You can start a business with literally from day one. Most of the time, it is designed in such a way it's business in a box, right? You just have to
Yeah.
make sure
Yeah.
that you have to go out and do the work, right? So it's very simple, right? Of course, it still needs effort, but it's very simple. So,
Very
any
simple.
concluding
Yes.
comments for the audience today, Dr. Wayne?
Just to finish off with, and what we do is, so there's 5 dot points to understand this whole process. And number one, just going through it again, is remember, know your avatar, your ideal client, your USP. Number two is create a lead generation system where you're using the funnels and you understand PASC, for example. And then number three is your retention in terms of auto ship, and then the inactive sequence. And then number five is we repeat the above and we refine it. Don't just think because you've written an email that when you first write it and then you actually go back, you might go, okay, I think I need to refine this, because what happens is as you improve, the same as BK and I openly always say, that even this particular channel that we're working on here is always improving. Perfection never exists. We want to keep on improving. The same with your emails and same with everything you do. Go back and refine it. Make it better, make it better, make it better, because that's what I did. And the way that you find those different qualities about your avatar is the very things that you find day to day. If you're going out there and you're talking to people and you find someone who's rude and obnoxious, so then you write down, from today, I no longer wish to attract rude and obnoxious people. So you use your real life experience to actually write down the dot points of the type of people you want. So now you may come across a business builder who just runs. He's incredible. He's come into your business, you've found him, and all of a sudden you're not doing anything, and he's recruited 10 people in the first 2 weeks. That's the type of person you then need to go and talk to and go, okay, and you just try and find his qualities. What's his qualities? He's a self-starter. He's motivated. He's not he is not overwhelmed, or doesn't have any challenges when it comes to having any knockbacks or things like that. So you write down those qualities. Don't just have them in the ethers. You've got to write them down. Something magical occurs when you write these things down. Not type them down. Please write them down. Yes, you can then type them into your computer into a hard document, fine, but write them down initially. Something more magical occurs when you write them down. So it's basically number 5 is rinse and repeat, or you just go back and you do the whole system again.
Thank you, Dr. Wayne. And I think with that, we nicely wrap up another live episode of
No,
Candid
yeah.
Conversations about network marketing. And once again, if you're watching us live, let us know, comment by typing in the word live so that we know you're watching it live. If you're watching a replay, we also welcome you. And if you want to catch our previous recorded episodes that are also archived, all the live episodes, just check us out at networkmarketerpodcast.com. Then you can actually access all the past recordings as well as the show notes. So with that, we end another episode and we'll see you next week. Bye, Dr. Wayne.
Thanks, BK. Thanks, BK. Thanks, everyone.